Welcome back, folks, to the live stream from the B2B online conference. We have a very special guest, Mr. Matt Swan from Ace Southern is here with us in the studio. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, thanks for being here, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I have been with Ace Southern for the past 10 years. I am a technical product manager, which means that I essentially oversee from the marketing department, all of our marketing technology, automation, cloud infrastructure, all of those different kinds of things.
Wow, you do a few things. You probably don't sleep much.
I really don't.
Well, you're also an e-games winner, right? Is it hockey?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Top
Esports, I think it's called esports.
I don't know much
New
about it.
You didn't know what at
fake
Rutgers,
hockey.
did you?
Yep.
What is it called? Fake hockey?
We call it fake hockey, but yeah, we don't play the real games. We only play the video ones.
Awesome.
But yeah, top ranked, fun.
Awesome.
It's a nice way to get away from work and get angry about other things.
Okay.
All right, so Brian, I can't wait. We talked with you last night, actually, and so I can't wait to have you share your story here with this audience. So tell us what it is Ace Southern does, and please don't leave out the gory details.
I won't, but first I should say that what we will get into is a highly regulated field. So while I may have a little trouble with some of the details, it's not as gross as it seems. We are a manufacturer and a distributor in the oral surgery space.
Okay.
And what we manufacture is bone. So the bone comes from tissue banks.
Which means humans
It
and
is
animals.
both. We have what we call allograft and xenograft. Xeno meaning the animal part. Allograft is human tissue. And it would be any time that you would get, let's say, a dental implant, right? So you go and you need to get a dental implant, but your bone isn't strong enough to hold that implant. You would get this bone graft. And then I actually have bone in my mouth. Friends and family discount from work.
Okay.
Does everybody get one who works there?
Yeah. I mean, that's that. Anytime before a big procedure, you go in and see the boss and you say, hey, what kind of discount? What kind of deal can you make me here?
Oh my gosh.
But that's what it ends up being is then you have to get that bone kind of fortified before you can get the full implant. But it has a real impact to the customer because when you're having that happen, well, that needs to integrate with your bone. So you could have to go in for the first procedure, wait another 6 months for your final implant. The whole time, you've got that disturbance. So one of the things that our product does is it reduces the time to healing so that you can get to that surgery faster and reduce the total amount of time. And again, I can't be quoted on any of those. We have Tom is our VP of Biologics, real smart guy, and he helps us with all the details so that we don't market it the wrong way because even the way we talk about it is highly regulated.
I'll bet.
But it's really cool because we even have like clean rooms in our building. That was one of the first things, 10 years ago when you go on the tour and you see the clean rooms and you're going, okay, there's something else going on here. And at one point we even had to, for some of the machinery we needed, literally cut a hole in the side of the building.
Wow.
To get the machinery in to where it needed to be to continue to process bone and to do the things we do.
Process bone.
Process bone. That's what
You're in the bone business is what you're in, right?
Yeah. And it's great for the end user because we offer different sizes and the way that we, package it helps make sure that they're not going to run out of that supply. So if they're trying to go directly to their tissue bank, the tissue bank wants to, have larger quantities, those kinds of things. So we're actually bundling it and packaging it. And again, I don't know the right vocabulary, but we're putting it in just the right size at just the right time so that the surgeon is kind of hitting one surgery at a time.
So your oral surgeons are the people that buy your product, principally.
Oral, that's really a focus for us. And periodontists, kind of that specialty dental market.
So when do they do that though? I mean, these guys are doing oral surgery all day long. So is that why e-commerce was kind of interesting to them? Because I gotta be doing surgery in the day. So they probably order at night, right?
Yeah, we do see different patterns. You can kind of see by the end of the week, that's when they're scheduling a lot of the procedures. So we're very heavy in the beginning of the week in terms of bringing our orders in because that's when hey, I've got a moment in between and they're trying to sit down. And for us especially, and especially on the West Coast, e-commerce is a big thing for us because by the time some of those doctors are done for the day and they're ready to place their orders, our call center is closed.
Yep.
So to them, we're like
8 o'clock at night.
Right. 8 o'clock Eastern because we're located both in Brockton, just outside of Boston, and we have another facility in South Carolina.
Yep.
For the retail business.
Yep.
So time-wise, we're their best option.
Interesting. So e-commerce, and you think about, industries where e-commerce would be sort of a common, thing. Think about consumer e-commerce and history. Dental implants and regulated medical devices doesn't seem like a candidate for e-commerce, but clearly it is. What do you find as the key success factors, and how did you get I guess even going back a step, how did the company first decide to even do this?
So it's been a long journey. Originally, Ace Southern is actually the merge of two companies, Ace Surgical and Southern Anesthesia.
Okay.
Both started by industry professionals.
Okay.
On the Ace Surgical side, by a man by the name of Dr. Carchidi, who literally started the business because he needed a tube length that was not available. So he started cutting his own tubes and making his own products, selling them to his friends. And at that point, you start to build a business out of that.
Right.
And then that's really where our focus has always been. I think why we're so successful, because we spend the time to really understand what's the gap in the market. There was a product not a few years ago where, and I don't remember the specific product, but I know our team went to a conference very much like this, but for oral surgery, spoke to the doctors there, and they said, hey, what's really missing in the market is this middle kind of product. And by that same conference the next year, we had it in our lineup.
Oh, cool.
So being able to get that feedback, have those close relationships, that's a big part of what we do. If it wasn't for our sales force, so we have, probably 20, 30 people out in the field working on the education side, because that's the biggest thing, right? Once they're educated on the product, they understand what it is, then they can come to us and tell us how much they need.
Okay, so this is the big question, right?
Right. The education plays a big part.
How did that transition take place? Because I can't imagine the sales reps, we've been doing this long enough to know, not all the sales reps warmly embrace the idea of having commerce online where they're not booking the orders themselves. So talk to us a little bit about how you guys grapple with that.
Yeah, so for us, there's really kind of a balance between what we're trying to push the hardest. So the sales team is highly incentivized to move the products that require the education. We're highly incentivized to move general merch. So in that way, we start to kind of come together, because the retail side of the business says, okay, we want to sell the products that we manufacture. We want to sell the bone, the dental implants, but we don't want to make you go somewhere else to then buy your gloves for surgery. So that's really where we're saying is, hey, once you've got that sale made, hand it over to us and we'll make sure that, they're buying all of the, their crash cart is up to date. They've got all those products, and we'll handle the rest of it.
So they get comp for that though? Does the sales rep get comp for those accessories, so to speak?
I believe they get comp for everything.
Okay.
So in terms of the sales, they're not losing anything by pushing it to us.
Right.
Sometimes they believe that they're losing the opportunity to get in the office.
Right.
So that's something we have to deal with, because they're saying, hey, if they place their order with you, I don't have the monthly order to go talk to them about. And there's also a real
So how do you deal with that then? What do you tell them?
We tell them to give us a chance.
Right.
And we are blessed, I will say that, to have a VP of sales who is very much in our corner.
See, that's it.
And will help drive that.
What
it
about
really
the
comes
CEO?
down to the people.
Is the CEO on board with this?
Yeah, everybody, the stuff that we do, especially on my team, I think you'd be surprised how far we're able to go for a company of our size. And we get that all the time when vendors come in and they see what we've accomplished from the technology side. They go, we've never seen a company your size with this kind of tooling, with this kind of success on what you guys are doing.
Interesting.
And it's like, we're not doing anything differently. We just know that to be competitive, we can't follow the same path that everybody else has.
So let's talk about it a second. So you're talking about your tooling.
Yeah.
I know you use commercetools, right? So
We do.
How did you decide to do that? What else did you look at? Commercetools is not the least expensive solution in this space. Did you have to make an investment thesis around that? Like, how did you persuade people to move forward with, which is a very robust platform, but actually not, a starter platform is conventionally thought.
Yeah, and I think the initial reaction to something like that is, a move to something like commercetools that isn't something that is isn't seen as kind of like the monolithic platforms we're used to, where it's a one-stop shop. You look at it and say, this is adding complexity, this is harder. And for us, it was simpler.
Interesting.
It was actually simplifying our process, because what we started looking at is saying, okay, if we're going to do it the monolithic way, we're dealing with all of the decisions that all of the engineers from that company chose. Whatever patterns they've implemented in their code, we have to follow all that. And what we found is to do a simple change it was taking us weeks. And the business would go, well, how is it taking so long to fix this when we knew 3 weeks ago? And it's like, well, we have to do this and then we have to do this. By separating in a headless commerce situation, we can actually offload all of that complexity to the commercetools, because now it's just an API. So it doesn't matter to me how commercetools makes their secret sauce, as long as I can access it.
So that's one of the criticisms sometimes of composable or headless commerce, is it takes more resources. What you're saying is you can do it faster, right?
Yeah.
Do you do it internally? Do you have them do it for you? I mean, how do you resource that?
We do it. And I'll tell you right now, I'm the only full-time employee working on this. So it can't be that difficult if we figured it out.
Are you a coder?
I am a coder, but I am, again, moving a lot more towards running my team. So we also work with Hero Digital, who provides us resources on that side. And we have some internal. So, we have
so you're
balance.
cheating a little bit.
Cheating a little bit.
Okay.
But we are not a big tech team. You know, Wayfair down the street has hundreds of engineers.
Right.
We've got, on any given day, 5 guys, and most of them are limited to about 10 hours a week at most.
Okay.
So that's what we're really kind of dealing with, to build this infrastructure around it, saying, you know, it actually gets a lot simpler. What we found is that some of the things you take for granted from the larger monoliths, like a forgot password function,
Right.
that's the stuff that takes more resources, because, we have to now create it for ourselves.
Right.
Right. Those are the little things you miss. But in terms of complexity, things have gotten so much easier, because even with commercetools now, we're both on the same cloud. So when something happens on the commercetool side, they can send messages to our queues, which are already set up to process messages. So they send those order messages over, and then we're just going into our normal workflow. So now we've combined, where we had 3 or 4 different workflows to get orders into our ERP. It's now a single workflow.
So from your perspective, it's gotten easier. So the whole composable or headless approach is not necessarily more complex, because it has a reputation as being harder to manage, right?
Because it's new.
Well, yeah, right. Is that it? Is it just because it's new?
That's it. Yeah, when you really get into the nuts and bolts of it, the reason we did it is so that we could focus our team on the front end, on the customer experience. And that's why people are surprised. They go, well, why aren't you in IT?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, because we don't deal with setting up networks and phone systems and those kinds of things.
Right.
We want to deal with the customer.
Interesting.
And that was really the big thing for us, is, hey, if we offload our complexity on the back end of commercetools, my team can focus on crafting a customer experience.
Wow.
And that's what's been on the non-technical side with the sales reps and everybody else. Being able to offer the best experience to oral surgery, that market, is what's gotten us where we are. So again, creating a situation where we can focus on that customer experience, get them what they need, rather than dealing with, well, what modules do we need to work with this system or that system? That's been a big advantage for us.
So quick question. So what do you use for your head then? What's your CMS?
I have this one right here.
The head returns.
We actually have a fully custom, it's a Nuxt base, so we work in Vue. It's Nuxt, and it's all custom. And it's the same site we ran on the monolith. So we took the whole template, picked it up, dropped it into that front end, and now we have full reign on that front end.
Interesting. Yeah. So you've got this platform now that is, nimble, as you said. How long does it take you to deliver? You said in the past, business would come to you and take 3-4 weeks to do something or more. All right, in your before you were in this composable structure, how long does it take you now to deliver? Do you have an example you can give us maybe?
Sure. The biggest thing for us now is the data availability.
Okay.
So if somebody comes to us right now, we've been working very heavily with the product team on improving not only the number of products available in our catalog, but the amount of information that we display to the customer. And one of the things we just went through was product descriptions. So they've got, we've got 10,000 products in the catalog.
Yep.
Our printed catalog has the best descriptions, but it's not digital ready. And they're going, well, how do we help get this to you faster? And what we came up with were 5 templates to say, if you can fit these into these 5 templates, we know how to process them on the right front end so they look nice.
Okay.
And then it was basically for us overnight. We went into our front end and we added in commercetools a property for the template, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We import it from the PIM. So our product team knows exactly how to set it.
Yep.
And then based on what that value is, we pull 1 of 5 different components from the front end.
Wow.
So basically overnight, we can now create the structure and then we go, okay, now it's yours,
So
right?
he's not a part of the $3 trillion data problem.
Apparently not.
That's
No, well, I wouldn't say it's 3 trillion for us, but it is still, well, but we have the advantage that we can do our own data work.
Right.
And that's really how we've
Right.
always built things so
Right.
that we're not relying on others to get us that data.
Yep.
So that's always something that helps.
And that's what's really interesting about the manufacturer versus the distributor or reseller, because they inherit data or they have to create it somehow, but you actually create it from the outset. So question for you, we're going to be debating AI tomorrow, whether AI is a solution to the $3 trillion data problem. 3 trillion. What's your take? Do you think AI can help?
I think it can.
Say yes.
Say no.
I do think it can, but I think we need to look for the right opportunities. I think there's really a big push now. We've seen ChatGPT, so we just go, oh, let's apply it to everything all the time.
Right.
But I've got the same sense. I've been through a number of great educational programs around data science, machine learning, all of those kinds of things. And one of the things that I constantly, consistently find is that the things that you look at as here's the next big great thing, 80% of companies are not even within 3 to 5 years of taking advantage.
That's right.
So those are the things that I think it really depends on who the service providers are that are going to pop up and implement it. Because we've been through this 100 times, and I've been on calls where they go, hey, we can get your data set up and you're going to be up on our platform. It's going to take 7 minutes. And I go, okay, I'm starting the clock now. Show me 7 minutes. Let's do it. Have you ever even heard of the ERP that we use?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're not familiar with that one. I go, okay.
So it'll take more than 7 minutes.
Yeah, so it's not as easily accessible. But I will say there are things that have really shown me the value, like Loom. So we use a program to do screencasts, and it's great. As I'm doing it, it's using my words, turning them into words, and then coming up with title and description for me.
Yeah.
Which saves me time when I'm sending that to customer service to say, hey, here's how you hook up this customer. So those, I think, if people can find we talk about that return on investment. If people can find the actual applications that do provide that value, then I think we'll see a lot of it. Some of the more flashy things like the generative, all the images. I'm a big fan of John Oliver. I don't know if you've seen his sessions on him and lettuce or cabbage or whatever. Those kinds of things I just think are hype.
Well, we'll be debating that one tomorrow.
So we'll get you in the audience, and hopefully you'll vote for the answer is no, because that's my side. he thinks that it's here.
But if you want to have the right side, then it's going to be yes.
So Matt,
They've got to wrap up,
you got to just one more question for you. So
Sure.
what's next? I mean, we talk about the economy, uncertainty of the economy, things like that. I mean, how do you decide what's next for 2024?
So what's next for us is really just doubling down and simplifying what we've done. So a lot of what we've been doing over the past few years is building new systems, getting these things in place. And I think with the launch of commercetools, we really turned that corner. So I think at this point, it's really now to deliver on that value. We're already seeing some really impressive jumps in average order size because performance is a big thing that we're getting from this, where if we have a doctor that comes in and we'll see 30 to 40 line items on an order, which to me is crazy. That's a lot of stuff. But when you imagine if they had done that on our old system, it easily would have taken them hours to put that. So it makes sense to us why that's happening. But I think that's what we need to double down on.
Right.
And where do we improve that? Learning more, even just adding little things to our sign up like job function, because we might have someone from the accounting team come in.
Right.
We might have somebody from the office. We might have the doctor.
Right.
And depending on who it is, really shapes the message. So doubling down on the personalization.
Well, didn't you tell me too that there's a little confusion about the practice location versus the doctor's location?
We do get a lot of confusion. Yeah, especially on the larger organizations where we'll have people go, hey, there's orders in my order history. These aren't my orders. And they think someone's ordering on my account. It's like, no, that's the West Coast practice, or that's just another, you're all within the same. So adding more of those kinds of features, putting more power in the hands. We have a number of what we call DSOs, dental service organizations, who need to have approval power on different orders. They need to be able to see for accounting different. So getting with them, right? And understanding what is the need now that we've got this figured out. And one of the reasons that we went to commercetools was because some of those things like business units and associates are built in.
Yep.
Right. So we don't have to worry about creating those things. They're already ready for us.
So we got to leave it there, Andy. Matt, thank you very much. Making
thank
the
you.
buyer's job easier. We appreciate your time. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks. Pleasure being here.
The
Thanks,
Bone
Doc.
Man, right
Bone
there.
Man. And we'll be right back, folks, to wrap things up and get ready for our next session. Thank you.